everybody. Welcome to another episode of Personal Mastery Training. If it's your first time joining me, here's how it flows. I do 2 episodes of this podcast. I do a strategic episode where I give you something to think about because I believe you shouldn't get through life. Don't get through challenges, just get through it. I want you to get from it. There's a lesson in life, there's a lesson in your challenge, and I want you to get through it. So I suggest some ideas, and I invite you to take those ideas, chop it up. Don't take my word for it. Disagree with it. Whatever. I just want you to think. I want you to get off the treadmill and think. And the second episode that I do is a masterclass where I bring someone on who I feel is a student of the game, who's doing really well, who is dedicated to their relentless pursuit of mastery in any area. So that's how it flows. And the whole idea behind this is if you can control your inner game, between your ears, that gray matter, there's no enemy outside of you. No one outside of you can penetrate your game. Because I know when I was competing at an elite level, I would be the first one in, last one out. You name it, I would check the boxes, I would do everything. However, when I got to the ring, the floor, wherever it is, competition arena, somebody else showed up. I don't even know who that was. So I always wanted to master the game. And I work with elite athletes now, and that's what I do: master their mind, their body, and their soul. Teach them how to do that. So on the podcast today, though, I'm excited to have a brethren who I've met, who seems like I've known him all his life, Mathew Park. And Matthew's been on before, previous episode, but I want to catch up with him again because I've watched him grow and I've watched him evolve, and I feel he's going to bring another level to this podcast again. And so let me just a quick line about Mathew. Mathew is the founder and CEO of the Trainer Revenue Multiplier, TRM, a company that specializes in helping fitness professionals strategically grow their businesses. And I've seen this. He has a powerful beginner program called TRM 10K. And I've been fortunate enough to be included as a leader in that. And so I sat back now for the last 4 sessions and watched people change, watched businesses grow, watched people come in and evolve, and they continue to come back because they know repetition. There's so much, it's so jam-packed with good stuff that they come back again and, send friends. So that's enough for that intro. I'm going to get Mathew now to get on here and give us a little something. Mathew, welcome back.
My man, the chocolate wonder is here.
Yeah.
I'm grateful to be here, my man. It's a pleasure. Always.
All right. Always, man. Always, my brother in arms. So tell us, give us some people, I'm not even sure what episode you were on way back, but update us, give somebody who's just hearing you a bit more about you, your beginning journey from a bustling big city from a small town and somewhere in Canada and now here. So tell us about that.
I would love to, man. I'd love to. So I've been in the fitness game for 18 years. I began so my journey actually is on a farm of 100 people in the middle of nowhere in Alberta, Canada, called Acadia Valley. My gym was the size of my bedroom, and it was made from combine tractor parts, cultivator bars, and that was pretty much my benches. So that's how we grew up kind of in the game. And, evolved to being a personal trainer, going from $200 a month, $20K a month over 5 years when I was 18 to 24. Evolved there, took a 2-year PFT program back in the day in school, full-time school. Did part-time instructing there for a couple of years at NATE, doing 2 courses in there. And I'll kind of round off here. Was also part of starting a natural bodybuilding fitness federation called INBF Canada. We ran 45 shows over 9 years across Canada, and also was part with my uncle in starting a beverage company called RE7, which we actually got into 3,000 locations in North America with our health beverage company. So I've kind of been in the game of doing shows, running a distribution business, building a company, both companies from nothing, being a trainer. And then, of course, I was a part of Super League for 2 years, almost 2 years. Brought the event to Canada, Montreal. She actually shut down the biggest gym in all of Canada for this event in 33 years. And we held Super League Canada here back in 2008, 2017. So that was kind of cool to bring that here. And I've been coaching off and on, and I've been business coaching for about 7 years, but I realized my niche and focus was trainers.
Love it. Love it. Niche and focus. That's something Matthew's known for. So Matthew, it sounds like you were born with a silver spoon in your mouth and everything went well. Tell us the journey of how blessed you were, and there's no hiccups, there's nothing there. You just smooth road, straight line up to the top.
What a great question, Alvin Brown. So on a farm, on a town of 100 people, I was raised with, 120 head of cattle. We had 5,000 acres of farmland. So I was the guy on the farm taking care of calving season, granary, cutting grass, a whole 9 yards at 10 years old. So I was raised with hard work, and that grew with me over all those years. So, so definitely silver spoon all around the table, as you probably can tell, right? Okay. We have, as far as the money is concerned, we didn't really have a family with money. So of course it was all about hard work and ethic and everything else in between. From there, I just basically got this obsession for fitness at bodybuilding at 12 years old. I was the skinny kid of maybe 90, 95, 100 pounds if I'm lucky, bullied in school, had no friends in school, and came in last in every sport. It was honestly, it was embarrassing as hell. And I was like, how can I actually like just have some confidence? Because I had no confidence at all back when I was like 11 years old. And my uncle introduced me to some weight training. And the first year of me weight training, I was the guy that went from being picked last, in baseball, picked last in volleyball, basketball, to literally going to track and field and winning, breaking 2 records and winning all 4 events. Wow. And I came from the guy who was the bullied kid to like, who's this kid from nowhere? Almost like, in grade 9, winning 4 different major events in track and field. So I was kind of I was proud of that, because I was a nobody, at the day. Yeah. It kind of like which almost saved my life, pretty much. Like kind of gave me some purpose back in the day.
Yeah, I love that. And how many people are out there like that? Did you know deep down though in those days when you weren't, as I like to say, Zig Ziglar has a quote, you're wandering generality instead of a meaningful specific, right? So you're just wandering. Those days when you were kind of lost, in the younger years, was there somewhere deep in you though that you knew I was meant to do something bigger?
Oh yeah, 100%. Okay. But I didn't really know it wasn't until I kind of began weight training. Weight training was almost like I felt like it was in my blood. But I've always had a hunger of like wanting more in life. I just didn't know really what that meant about more in life. And because of sport, I wasn't very good at sports in the day. I wasn't even good at school. I was, getting, if I'm lucky, like C's and B's in school, if I'm lucky. I wasn't really good at many things at all, but besides cutting grass and doing lawns. So that was kind of what I was good at doing, was cutting lawns and cutting grass, and working on the farm. So that was what I was known for. But then of course, weight training, I was like, oh shit, I actually can, I should have a purpose, with this thing. And I began like, I just lifted weights almost every day. And all of a sudden I'm playing football, like track and football with the football, and I'm running like through people. I was like, shit, this actually is a good thing. I actually can like do something with my life here. So yeah, once that kind of happened for me, I got purpose around fitness and sports.
This is interesting because I'm trying to formulate a question here. And I'm thinking about my listeners, and I was here too, funny enough, whenever I was younger, single mom, alone at home, a lot of times, and no direction really. And then I discovered wrestling in high school, and one win leads to the next, right? You start to win one thing, and wow, I've got some worth here, and then one to the next. So, what would you say to somebody who kind of has that resume? I wasn't good at anything. Even in their later years, they're still thinking I'm not good at anything, or what would you say to them about finding their thing? Is there anything you can pull from that?
I would say don't try so hard, and look what actually brings you joy and gives you meaning. And I think people try too hard to be compare themselves to the celebrities and the sports stars and the big authors, and all of a sudden we wonder why the world gets so unhappy and
Yeah.
suicidal. And I'm like, and on all these medications, and I'm like, well, because you're just not being you.
hmm Authenticity. What if there's a big question? What if I don't even know where to start? How do I find me? And, as you said, because you cutting grass and working on the farm,
Yeah.
and then you found one light, lifting weights, glimmer,
Yeah.
a glimmer, and you just kept following that light
Mm-hmm.
towards somewhere. You didn't even know where. It was uncharted. Am
Yeah.
I right? Like, did you just find a light and then just kept one foot in front of the other?
No, my uncle Mike, he had built this workout shed in the back of the farm because there was nothing, you couldn't lift weights anywhere. There was no gyms anywhere in this small town, right? So
Yeah.
he built this workout shed the size of my bedroom, and he built some, equipment actually out of like machinery in there, like combine parts, cultivator parts, basically in this thing. Of course, I painted the room and everything, making it look all pretty. And
Uh-huh.
I'm like, oh, Uncle, I want to lift some weights too. He's like, well, you're 12 years old. You do these simple things. There's one thing he always told me that I'll never forget, though. He told this to me for years in my teens, from 12 to 18. Matthew, always do this naturally. Don't you ever take any drugs.
Right.
Like, you're doing this, I want you. It might take you longer. But I guarantee in 10 years from now, you'll be thanking me.
Right. Yep.
Never forgot that.
Love it. Stuck in your head.
Always.
So a mentor, you really need a mentor, I guess, huh? Someone to guide you a little bit. So
The right mentor, bro.
the right mentor.
Because I had another mentor, like in
Yeah.
the earlier years in bodybuilding, and he was.
Yeah. I
And
figured that.
Uncle Mike put me on the right path, and all of a sudden, my Uncle Mike and I kind of fell off the path for about 6 months. And
Right.
I was like, I think I was that kid that I knew everything. Now I've done one show, and I'm like, somebody with the other guy who was not natural.
Yeah.
And he was like leaning me into taking it. It's like, but my Uncle Mike was all in the back of my mind. It's like, you know what? No, Uncle Mike was always right. So I think finding the right mentor is key.
Yeah, love it. Love it. Mentor. And I want to point out that a mentor doesn't have to be a person. Could be a book. Could be, something that inspires you. But so what I'm hearing here is find something, listen to clues, follow your heart, your gut, your passions, because you picked up those weights and you felt, I'm going to go down that path. You were young, but you still followed your heart a little bit. And then you stacked one win on top of the next win. And, a crawl went to a walk and went to a run. And now here you've created these companies and that's probably the same principles you followed, opening your companies, building TRM. You probably the same thing, walk, crawl, run, and up and going. So awesome. Now, I know your backstory, so I'm just gonna kind of lead you here, but you've never suffered any losses though in your companies, right? They've all been successful. You've made a ton of money. No, straight ahead, right?
That's so funny. Of course, 100%, man.
Yeah.
No, I've been dead broke twice and it's funny because I never told this actually yet, brother. I want to tell you, you might have known the story about this last story. When I first moved to Montreal,
that's between you and I. Go ahead.
When I first moved to Montreal 7 years ago, and I packed up, drove my car from Calgary to Montreal, 4,000 miles, packed up, moved with my wife, but now my wife, by the way. I didn't have any money, and I was a business coach. I was the guy who was negative $68,000 in debt, partly tax debt, credit card debt. I was getting a paycheck of $3,200 from RE7 at the time, which was not even covering my bills, right? And I felt like, I'd built INBF, I'd built RE7. I was like, okay, I'm 30 years old, and I'm negative $68,000 in debt, and I'm like, I felt like a complete loser. I was like, 20 years, I built this other company. I'm like, I lost everything twice, and I was like, but if I don't focus on that and focus on this, and now I've like not Uber, but like I've made an Uber change from 7 years ago where I am now, because I've learned what not to do.
Yeah.
And when you make all the mistakes, and I made a shitload of them, and you learn, okay, don't do that because that's gonna hurt, over here. And then of course, now you can fast track your success because you've gone through 10 or 12 or 13 years of a lot of, ups and downs, right?
Yeah. So not sure if take a second to think about this, but if I were to ask you, looking back now, so you did all these companies, you lost some things, you broke, you went from here to down there. What was a keystone habit that you had then that led to that? What was the
Never
thing?
quit. Never quit.
Right. Yeah. And then what led you not to see that you're making these errors? What was your mindset? Were you just taking too many risks? Did you not value what you had? What was the thing, do you think?
I was the recovering people pleaser.
Okay.
I was kind of like ignoring the important things in the business, right? And numbers, metric number, which now it's the opposite for me.
Yep.
And I was actually dragging along something that actually wasn't even bringing me happiness anymore, and I was actually very resentful of it, and it was literally just pulling me down.
Yeah.
And it was my own fault.
Yeah.
So I didn't let go soon enough.
Okay. So. Yeah, there's a couple of things there. I'm the same way. Fire, ready, aim. That would be my thing. I've made up. I've done so many, and here's a problem for a lot of us. It's when you can create abundance, you actually get a little cocky and start taking more chances. Right? Because you can create it. However, it's not what you create, it's what you keep. And so that's where I found I was just like you, fire, ready, aim, and we also lead with our hearts, and we don't let go. There's a great Tony Robbins quote I saw that says, "It's not the person you didn't hire; it's a person you failed to fire, whether it be a partner, a person that works for you, whatever it might be." Right? So, yeah, huge, man, huge lessons. So now that when you restarted, did you take a break in between the losses? I don't like to use those words, but the lessons. Did you take a breather before starting TRM and then started in a whole different mindset?
Yeah, I did, but I didn't really have a choice, because of course I had to pay my bills. So
right.
I was doing coaching to cover all my stuff for a while. I was also kind of going through, like, getting through a lot of lessons and like how to overcome them properly psychologically too, because I was like, I actually had quite a few successes, like a lot of actually in my 20s. But then I felt like, what was that all for at the end of the day? Like I'm sitting here driving to Montreal with, this end. So I realized, so when I kind of got my feet back and kind of like looked at my new vision, it was actually a pretty quick turnaround for me, because of course I knew what not to do and what to do in that process. Yeah. And people that I've met and I worked with over all those years were there, where they were all there. Like they were going anywhere. I built those connections for all those years. I wasn't a newbie. I was actually a seasoned veteran in doing all these shows and beverage company and Super League. So I had a ton of connections, tons. Yeah. I was leveraging all of that, which enabled me to get coaching and TRM going so fast.
Right. Love it. And, so I love to pick the lessons out of things. And so what Mathew said, and this has been said many times in personal development, that I could take the money away from a billionaire. You could literally take the money away from them. But because of the networks they've built, the lessons they've learned, if they're self-made, the lessons they've learned, they'll be wealthy in an eighth of the time, because it's all about what you become, who you become. And I love Jim Rohn's quote that his mentor told him: make the goal to become wealthy, not for the money, for what it makes of you to become wealthy. And that's what you're saying here. You learned, you suffered, you lost, but what you didn't lose was the lessons that were there, and you just went back. And then the other one is your network is your net worth. You were a good person too, and this is another reason why you can't burn your bridges on your way up, because you may need them on your way back.
Yep.
Right. So that's awesome. That's awesome. And tell us about TRM then, the vision for TRM. Trainer Revenue Multiplier.
It's funny because it kind of came from a personal thing back in the day, because I was the struggling trainer for 2 years. Couldn't pay the bills, drove around an old Chevy truck, that was worth me $200, right, for years. And I was just, using, like, I was living off alone, all this kind of things for a couple of years. And I saw these educated trainers
Yeah.
going through this PFT program, putting all this money in education,
Yeah.
but just were quitting after 6 months again the program because they couldn't make any money, you
Right.
know.
Yep.
And I remember one that I never forget, because my cousin, because of me, wanted, he was inspired by what I was doing, wanted to go and try personal training, the PFT program, like I did. He went there, and after a year, he quit because he's like, oh, there's no money in this. And I was like, for Pete's sake, it's one of the best careers probably in the world you can do, personal
Right.
training. So I
Yep.
felt this like really big pull to help these trainers show this actually can be a beautiful life
Mm-hmm.
if you do it right.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yep.
felt this need to like go help them, serve them, coach them, train them, as I was, getting myself back on my feet. And now this team that we have, you're a part of that, Alvin. It's like this team that we have gets me so juiced, because I see a million trainers in the next 5-10 years being impacted, not just because they're going to make a lot of money. That isn't the point here. It's like Jim Rohn quote, it's wealthy, who they're going to become, and how they're going to live their lifestyle with elements of, yes, income, systems, freedom, personal mastery, impact with their families and their children. That's going to create them to have more of an impact.
Yeah, I love it. And it's really powerful. And the 12 steps, you can tell, there's a great quote when they Leonardo da Vinci, apparently, I'll just, maybe it's someone else, but Leonardo da Vinci was at a fair, and a lady walked up and said, can you draw me a painting of something real quick, or drawing? And he did it. It took him 2 minutes and he charged her $2,000. And she said, oh my God, $2,000, you just did that in 2 minutes. How are you charging $2,000? He said, well, it took me 20 years to do that in 2 minutes. So that's what you kind of remind me of with TRM, right? It's 20. When did you start TRM? What year?
I was business coaching for 3 years, and then I decided to start TRM October of 2018.
Right.
Group launch.
So you're looking at 4 years?
4.5 years.
4.5 years. And let me tell you, listeners, it's almost like this program has been running for 20 years. And it's a work in progress. We all know that. However, what he has right now is he actually doesn't have to tweak it anymore, but he continues to make it better. But it's powerful. It's powerful. If you're a trainer out there listening and you can't pay the bills and you love what you do, this is a program. If you do it, obviously, there's no magic here.
Exactly.
You gotta apply. Yep. Education without application is just entertainment, baby.
That's it, man.
So, right? So, Mathew, so let's talk about, what do you see then? What's my mentor, always like to, my other mentor, Mathew's one of my mentors. But anyways, my other mentor likes to say G curves, and he likes to put your goals out. Where's Mathew now? He's in his 60s, 65-year-old Mathew. What's he doing? What has he done?
That's a big question, bro. That's a big question.
Mm-hmm.
So,
what do you feel?
So right now I'm a young buck compared to all your wisdom, just so you know, I've got a long ways to go to catch up to you, brother.
I got to stroke my beard here for a second. Yeah.
You gotta stroke that Mr. Miyagi, the Godfather. Look over there, bro.
Go ahead, young man. Yeah.
I'll keep it short because this is a big question.
Yeah. So
I am in a place where, TRM has already been going for 18, 19, 20 years. And, I'm in a place where our team is out there serving these professionals in fitness all over the world. We have courses and programs in Team University going, and we've got live events happening. Like, we're talking big events here. We're talking 5,000 people events, 10,000 people events. We do these some big events. I'm seeing, what I'm seeing is we're hanging out in Grand Cayman all together, having a good time on the beaches, talking about the next big adventure, writing the book. I definitely got to catch up to you, because obviously you're working on a third book right now. I want to get my book out sometime soon here. Mm-hmm. So I'm looking at that down the road as well. And of course, being a great leader for my family and my children, because I want to enjoy memories with them. Part of my goal going forward, just so you know, bro, is I'm setting a goal for this coming year, is every quarter I want to take my family somewhere for an adventure, whether it's camping or whether it's Disney World or something where we can build memories when they're young. Because part of
Beautiful.
my quarterly goal is doing that with my family every quarter.
Beautiful. Love it, man. Love it. And I'll be here as long as the good Lord allows me to be. I'll be here to keep you to it, man. Make sure you stay true to that. Make sure you stay true to that. So awesome, man. So Matthew gave us a lot of clues here. For those listening, just in quick summary, if you're feeling, remember it's just a feeling, lost, kind of no direction, and so on and so forth, find in your darkness, find a little pilot light, something you love, something that makes you come alive. And I would go to a mentor for support, someone around you who is doing the thing, and or books, anything you can grab onto in that darkness. So you got the pilot light, you grab onto something to hold on to, and you just start taking your first step. The journey of 1,000 miles, begins with that first step. You start putting one foot in front of the other, and build on your wins. Every little win, start to count it. Matthew counted a win here, and he counted that he could run fast, and he counted this. And coming from a person who said all I knew how to do was cut lawns and grass and farm, to I won one thing and I win another, and then it built. Oh, I'm gonna start this. I'm gonna win this and four out of this, and you just kept building and building and building, and it continues now. So those of you who are lost and frustrated with your life, follow those master keys, those master clues, and keep building on your confidence. Keep working at it, because Matthew continues to grow. As I'm sitting here watching his show, he continues to evolve. He's got, allowing himself also to be vulnerable enough to grow. So awesome, Matthew, man. Really proud of you, brother. Really proud of your journey, and I'm here for it.
Can I share one thing for you, bro? One thing with
Yep.
you. I kind of, it's funny because I think about it now. It makes me laugh because I won a pro card in my year. Like I won WNBF pro status natural body.
Right.
And it's funny. I never talk about it ever. I don't
Right.
fucking care.
Yeah.
It's funny because I got this trophy and this medal I won when I was 25, and I'm like, I don't. I honestly, I've never mentioned in my bio. I don't think in 5 years.
Right.
But I mentioned because all of these bodybuilders, and that's all they think of. All they want is just that IV pro card.
Yeah, the pro card.
And I think that's fantastic. But like a piece of paper, like what does it really mean?
Yeah. It's
I'm just
nothing,
saying.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's nothing about the acquisition of the thing, because that pales. It's what we got to remember. It's that journey. It's who you're becoming. Yes. Matthew today, that vision you talked about, the 20-year vision, that Matthew is going to blow this one away. All right, because of the things you will learn, the things you will, when you move to mastery. And you said one thing that I want to leave our listeners with is don't discount the wins, because it did take you something to get there. With those wins, those led to where you are now. Yeah. So we should celebrate those wins, because when you don't, you're discounting that journey.
Exactly.
So 100%. Okay, my friend. Thank you, listeners. I hope you enjoyed listening to the journey. There's lots in there. It's a summary. It's a Cole's notes of the beginning, but there's a ton of nuggets, lessons in there that lead you to a sense of mastery. So, Mr. Park, where can someone get a hold of you before we leave? Actually, how can they're interested in TRM, they heard the information, they want to maybe get started, inquire. How's that work?
Simple, bro. Go to tournamentmultiplier.com and they can learn more there, brother. And last thing I want to share about you is, listeners, you guys obviously hear Alvin every single week on this podcast. He is a legend. He is a gold nugget. He is the personal mastery guy. I'm telling you guys, this is one guy you want to keep in your corner, in your back pocket, as you are evolving in your life.
The check's in the mail. All right. Thank you, my brother. Thank you, my brother. Appreciate it, man. I don't take those for granted, but then they just go in and they go up, and I'm here to serve, and I will maintain doing that any way I can. All right, everybody. You know why I do this? I always tell you why I do this, because I want you to be relentless about your pursuit for personal mastery of yourself, because when you do that, there is no enemy outside. All right, until next time, someone might need this information. So I'm going to invite you to like it, subscribe, and share it. You never know. This one message here could change somebody's life. one idea well executed will change somebody's life forever. All right, Mathew, thanks, man.
Thanks. You're awesome, man.
Peace and love, brother.
Right back at you.